Today we're going to go over Lesson 8.2 Day 3 on solving rational equations. When we're solving rational equations, we're going to factor if possible, and unless it says assume that all expressions are defined, we do need to identify our excluded values. So that's where we set the bottom equal to 0 to figure out what values x cannot equal. Then we will simplify and solve for x. And we are going to check our solution when we are done by just substituting our answer back into the original equation. So starting with number 1, we have x squared minus 25 over x minus 5 equals 14. So first I'm going to factor the numerator. I can see that I have a difference of perfect squares. So we take the square root of the first term, the square root of the last term, which is 5, and we have 1 plus, 1 minus. Then in the denominator, we still have x minus 5, and that equals 14. Okay, now before I simplify, I'm going to identify any excluded values. So I'm just going to set my denominator equal to 0, which is x minus 5. I would add 5 to both sides. And that tells me that x cannot equal positive 5. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to simplifying and solving for x. So I can simplify because I have x minus 5 in the denominator and the numerator. So those can cancel out. Then we're left with x plus 5 equals 14. Now we can subtract 5 from both sides to solve for x, and that gives us x equals 9. So we've got our solution. Now we want to make sure we check our solution. So off to the side, I'm just going to plug in 9 for x into my original equation. So that would be 9 squared minus 25 over 9 minus 5, and that equals 14. So you can use your calculator to help you simplify this. 9 squared minus 25, that would give us 81 minus 25, which is 56. 9 minus 5 is 4. So now make sure you divide 56 by 4 and check that that does equal 14. And it does, so that means our solution is correct. Okay, next, number 2, we're going to start by factoring. So I'm going to factor the numerator into two binomials. We've got x and x, and then the factors of our c value are 1 and 10 or 2 and 5. And we want to make sure that they add up to our middle term, which is 3. So for this problem, I'm going to use 2 and 5. Then make sure they add up to a positive 3. So I would need my 2 to be negative and my 5 to be positive. In the denominator, we have x minus 2, and that fraction is equal to 7. So again, make sure you stop here to identify your excluded values. So we're just taking the denominator and setting that equal to 0. So we add 2 to both sides, and that tells us that x cannot equal positive 2. Okay, going back to our equation, we're going to see if we can simplify it all. We do have x minus 2 in the numerator and denominator, so that cancels out. And then we're left with x plus 5 equals 7. So to solve for x, we can subtract 5 from both sides to give us x equals 2. But remember to check back up here. We just said that x cannot equal 2. That was our excluded value. So that means that this is not a solution. We have no solution for this problem. So since we don't have a solution, we do not need to plug anything back in because we know it won't work already because we already found our excluded values.